Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. This video is about the allegations that there are white farmers being killed in South Africa. First of all, I'd like to point out that I'm not a racial supremacist. I want people to stop killing people for the wrong reasons, regardless of what race they are. And everyone outside the divine order. Everyone who's not obeying God through me is killing people for the wrong reasons. If you have any questions about that, see my Proof I'm Christ playlist. I'm not on either side here. I'm on the side of truth. So now let's look at the evidence here. I've heard for years now, on and off, and sometimes quite a bit of time goes by before someone brings it up again, that there are white farmers being killed in South Africa and that their land is being taken from them. I just saw a video on YouTube that was about 25 minutes long or so where the president of South Africa, a gentleman I've never seen before, and Trump were discussing the issue. And I do believe that white people are being killed in South Africa. Okay. To what degree, I don't know, but I know for sure that, that they're being killed in South Africa. And at times they're being killed by black people. And some of those black people are racist. There's racists from every race. But I urge you all to think about this. There's a bigger picture here. If their land is really being taken by the government, okay, it's not necessarily the president's fault. He was trying to explain that. There's a whole system there. And there are rules that they have to adhere to, including rules in regards to the tenure of land and the confiscation of property, what have you. He's right about that. Also, South Africa has very high murder rates there. Very high. Very dangerous gangs. Dangerous prison gangs, organized crime, you name it. And some of these organized crime elements have various allies. China, Israel, you name it. There are elements of communist parties from all over the world in South Africa. There are elements of organized Jewish mafia types of organizations in South Africa. Okay, there always has been. Look at the history of South Africa. Israel was very much involved in the history of South Africa. They have intelligence assets there. They have people who are best described as Jewish mafia types there as well. Okay, businessmen, internationalists, agents of the global Jewish mafia. There are agents of groups that are best described as white mafias there as well. White organized crimes, white intelligence agencies. They kind of are like two sides of the same coin. They come together, so to speak. So, for example, the Numbers gang in South Africa, the prison gang, might have connections with the Chinese mafia, with the Chinese government, with the global communist movement. Okay? They might have connections with the CIA. I mean, I'm sure they have connections with both. Okay? They might have connections with the Jewish mafia. Israel is very concerned with what's going on in South Africa and how it plays out and what history, what historians write about Israel and their role in South African politics and so on and so forth. And they're very much involved in global politics and trying to sway people in regards to, their conflict with Hamas and things of that nature. Okay, again, I'm not on anyone's side. I'm not on Hamas' side. I'm not on Israel's side. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm on God's side. God is above everybody. I'm on the side of truth. I don't think that anyone should kill anybody for the wrong reason. I don't think anyone should unfairly take anyone's land. White, black, whatever. I'm part white, and that even if I was black and white people had persecuted me ruthlessly my whole life, which is basically the case, I would still argue, and I would still not approve of any unjust murder and theft and so on. I wouldn't approve of that no matter what. Pretty straightforward. He brought up how Nelson Mandela taught them that people need to discuss things in a very calm manner. And again, I state that I'm willing to discuss things with the people who are persecuting me in a very calm manner. I don't have any power over what's going on in South Africa, first and foremost because people are cheating me out of my rightful place. And they're cheating the public out of the awareness of what the Bible is really about and how Christ returning in the end of the Bible is an idea that's superimposed on me. Right? The Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. The Bible is first and foremost a martial arts book because God is first and foremost a martial arts God, monotheistic martial arts, war arts. The Lord is a warrior. That is a very key part of the Bible. It's a defining moment when Moses declares in Exodus that God is a warrior. That is his nature. In Isaiah chapter 30, it talks about God striking, his arm coming down with raging anger and consuming fire with cloudburst, thunderstorm, and hail. So it is impossible to do the situation justice without talking about a divine martial code that comes from God. Or else you're just, talking secular politics like some kind of coward or something. So it says, in verse 31, the voice of the Lord will shatter Assyria with his rod. He will strike them down, striking them down. Every stroke the Lord lays on them with his punishing club will be to the music of timbrels and harps as he fights them in battle with the blows of his arm. So God's this martial warrior. He's considering timing. He's considering everything. With God's infinite wisdom, he considers these things. And people cultivate a certain kind of mental clarity naturally until the end of the Bible, which has to do with the fumes, the poisons, the ill-gotten gains, the cheating, the controlled breeding, what have you. So what is happening in South Africa with the evidence that I'm given, and I haven't looked into it super tough, to me seems to be pretty straightforward. Okay? It's a distraction of sorts. There are real issues there. People are being killed, including white people. Sometimes white people are, eating lunch, whatever, and they have their shotgun away. All of a sudden, a bunch of black gang members break in and they kill them. Maybe they rape them. And when all is said and done, a bunch of people are mad at white people and they try to set the stage to steal their stuff. But you got to put in perspective here. Imagine you're in Johannesburg or in some place in South Africa, and you see a bunch of black street gangs everywhere. They're fighting each other all the time. They're pissed off. They have grudges against everyone and their mom, including white people. And as they're killing each other and they see each other dying of AIDS, they say, hey, let's get at those guys right there too. Let's kind of spread out, the violence. And there's communists who are like, hey, we want you to do that. We're going to help you do that. Them saying it, not me, obviously. Why? Because they want to make the argument that racial disparity creates violence and various economic and social and political problems. And they don't want to do it to make the world one fair and beautiful place. They want to do it as their part in the jigsaw puzzle, in the social engineering of the world. They want everyone to be confused, for two reasons. One, they want to snake people. Drag on issues that have no business still continuing, like racism, like exploitation, like homelessness, like starvation. It's dragging on the problem. Lots of people are suffering because that confuses people. Why is this happening? Why are the politicians talking crazy instead of figuring out the problem? And people start coercing them and telling them that they better agree with one politician or another, or else they won't have the network they need to survive. So there's dragging it on. Then there's the jackal, right? Jack All, Jack L, and Jack Lay. Jack all becomes lay without the Y. So they're controlling sexual behavior. It's about sexual control. It's about money. As they say, excuse my French, the P word for a vagina makes the world go round, and money makes the world go round. Okay, follow the money, follow the women, and you'll see what's going on. What is the output of what's going on? What is the consistent output? There are people desperate all over the world, and people who get a kick out of killing people are killing people. Now, when there's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's only 50 million millionaires and billionaires on the planet. Out of 8 billion, there's only 50 million. Why would attractive women be a problem for them? Think about it. Why would that be a problem? When you're rich, it's easy to get attractive females, especially if you're not sabotaging people's health. So because they're sabotaging people's health, there's less attractive females available. So they are sexual sadists. They're not just people after money and women like a gangster or something. They are specifically sexual sadists. And so are all gangsters when you think about it, because they come into their spirit. But there's still that distinction. The people leading the charge and insisting that that's the game, and the people who are foolish enough to play the game, who come into their spirit and take on their kind of beliefs to a certain degree, and then get, a small share of what's left of the pie after they sabotage everyone and reduce the overall output in the world and create a bunch of people who are sickly, who need medical care when they wouldn't otherwise need it. They create a lack of, effective production. They reduce the overall production. They reduce the economic output. They reduce the GDPs of every nation. So then they're dealing with the problem of scarcity. The science of economics is about dealing with the problem of scarcity, which also includes attractive women. You make them scarce, and you're a sick, sadistic bastard. You then use that, those pieces of shit use that to get people to kill each other. It's like the Roman Colosseum. They say, what do they have to do to make a Colosseum in the world, or a bunch of Colosseums, all over the place? Okay? And that's what they're doing. There's no other way to look at it. In fact, the most powerful secret society that I've come across in my research that's commonly understood to exist is the Club of Rome, and that's not a coincidence. And Rome scrambled is more. Now, what kind of monster, instead of enjoying having lots of money, just keeps killing people and acts like Cruella de Vil or something, and keeps saying more, 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 more? That's a sexual sadist. That's a sadistic person. That's a psychopath. They're not just narcissistic, they are psychopaths. And they did a study of CEOs, and they found about 1 in 5 corporate CEOs are psychopaths. And other corporate CEOs are sociopaths and narcissists. So the problem isn't as simple as, hey, white farmers are being killed in South Africa, and you aren't doing anything about it. If that president goes against the entire grain when he's just a politician, just a puppet, he's as good as dead. If he completely moves against the people who are trying to, so he's reaching out to Trump and he doesn't want to embarrass himself, and he's saying, hey, off camera, maybe if you help him out, that he can end the problem. He says you're their partner, you have concerns. He doesn't want to spill the game publicly. I think everyone should tell the truth publicly about everything. But that's where that guy's coming from. So it's stupid to think that the president is magically covering up for it, because the problem is much bigger than that. In Africa, it's the capital of military coups for the whole world. There's always a military coup there, every time you turn around, okay? And there's people who are part of paramilitary organizations that are backed by global entities and governments, okay, who are willing to kill somebody at the drop of a hat. Nobody's safe. You might say, well, he's the president. Hire more troops. What about when someone else becomes the president and only has a few bodyguards or something? What about his family? Okay? South Africa is not a theocracy where he's willing to die for God or something. He's just a politician, and politicians are corrupt. Okay? And why should he prioritize saving white lives when black people are the main people being killed in South Africa? You people aren't thinking.